Welcome, everyone. Welcome, George. Happy New Year. Happy
Happy
New
New
Year,
Year.
George. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Um, do you since we talked just last week and mentioned this, do you want to paraphrase this is our true why this is New Year's from days of yore? Do you want to explain that to anyone watching?
Yeah, it's basically we're on what they call the Gregorian calendar, and that was created by there was some pope or something that did that. But before that, we were on the Julian calendar, and actually, I'm not sure that's the name of it, but we were on a calendar that was 13 months
Yeah,
and 28 days per month, which everything lines up when you do it that way. And then there was one day of rest because if you have 28 days and 13 months, that's 364, and then there was a day of rest.
that's right.
Um, and that was on April 1st. April was the first, which makes sense for spring, right? It's birth, renewal, everything, right? And that's basically it. I mean, they changed it at some point, and then the people that were still celebrating it, they made the day April Fool's Day, and then they would mock them and laugh at them because they were celebrating the old, you know, New Year Day.
Yeah, it's so interesting to kind of think about. And you're right, it was the old Julian calendar. But yeah, Pope Gregory XIII in 1582.
Yeah.
Not so long ago, but long ago. And so, as the story goes, when that switch happened and pomp and circumstance, whatever the reason is, to make it in the dead of winter as opposed to new spring and new beginnings, and just the way the cycles of the earth move, anyone who did not then get on board and celebrate it, or those in like rural areas, or deciding to hold on to tradition, they were ridiculed. I even saw something that said they stuck April fish on their backs. I don't know what that means, and then that sort of translated over to just calling anyone a fool.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not going to speak ill of myself, but I'm happy to celebrate the new year
Yeah.
today, especially just looking outside. I mean, just you know, new leaves, new growth. So much of it makes sense to feel like a new beginning. I don't know about you, George, but I've even been, and I share a little bit sort of the nuggets of like why it is and all that. But I've said Happy New Year's to several people last couple of
Mhm.
days. A couple of them look at me a little funny, and a couple like when I explain it to them, they're like, "Oh, that kind of makes sense." I'm like, "Yeah, kind of
Yeah.
does." So
That's right.
how um how does the new beginning for you feel? How's it been? I know we just talked, but
Yeah. Um, I've just been awake a couple hours right now, but last night I stayed up till past midnight, and it felt like, I don't know. I mean, maybe how they say like when you're born, you were in one state and then you're born and you come out and then you're in a different state. And it just felt like that, like, okay, we just ended something yesterday and today's something new. Now what's today gonna bring now? What's this new year gonna bring? We've
that's
already
right.
had a crazy past 3 months, the end of last year, which everyone thought was the beginning of
Right.
this year, but
Right.
um, very ridiculous end of last year. And okay, well, is it going to calm down? Or are we going to have any significant things happening that more people are going to see? I don't know. I mean, I approached this new year with interest and curiosity.
I do. Yeah, I do too. Certainly in January, I'd kind of been a little more with it on the current events and things like that.
Mhm.
Here more recently, all the things that really kind of come to mind for me that are kind of happening are internal. So everything feels really calm outside of that. I just don't. We talk fairly often here anyway, and maybe people watching too think about this. You kind of go in peaks and cycles, like everything in life. And I'm certainly in a um, I'm in a peak of not out on you know X or other places, like sort of looking at news articles. Like I'll see a couple things, but um, and as it is not surprising at all. Everything just feels calmer, a lot calmer. Yeah, I I was going through a few things, especially yesterday to today, and I am doing something that it's related to work, work, 3D work. And there's just every now and again, you might have this or people watching where, there's something that you're used to doing and you go above and beyond for a certain thing. And then just one thing sort of shifts and somewhere just internally, like you feel like you've moved past a moral principle and you just sort of, it frustrated me. I guess I'd probably even say angered more than I thought it would. And I'm like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
well, maybe I've compromised myself. Maybe I've just gone too far and I was keeping track. That would have been an old me thing. I'm like, I don't know. I think this actually might be just an indication of, okay, you've run your course on this kind of particular thing, and I'm just letting myself know internally, subconsciously that it's kind of done. The details effectively don't matter, but I found it interesting to be particular for today.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I haven't experienced anything like that in a very long time, if ever. Um,
well, yeah, I
it's
can imagine you're in your current state. That's which is a good thing. It's good. Yeah, I still get those every now and again, but yeah, um, there isn't a sense of longing for what will be or when this date is or anything like that. I very much feel content exactly where I am.
yeah.
Yeah. Now at this point, I can look out and see moments like in this moment. You and I think we planned this maybe a couple weeks ago or whatever to talk, and I already I don't know. I already felt the gratitude. Like even when this call concludes, we've talked about this a little bit, but when you can reach a point within yourself to have gratitude for something that hasn't even happened yet, at least in this world, but has somewhere in some dimension, in some probability or whatever, all infinite things have happened, you know, good and bad, right or wrong.
Right.
And so when you place yourself in that place of gratitude on your quote unquote highest timeline of something that has occurred already, you move from a I need this or I desire this to a I have gratitude for it. And I have been pleasantly surprised to come to realize it doesn't seem like drive changes when you have gratitude for something. Even in this reality, it hasn't happened yet. I haven't seen the drive fall off. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Do you?
It does, and I'm glad you're talking about gratitude. It seems like that's been in the forefront for me in the past few weeks as well. Emily and I, my wife, we've interacted with several people, and you're just talking about different things, and then we tell them what we're doing, and because when you meet someone, they're always like, "Oh, what do you do?" And by "what do you do," it's always like, "What do you do for work?" And it's like that is so not who we are at all as
Right.
people, right? Like you
Yeah.
shouldn't. I don't think that people should make their job their identity. I've never felt that way, but that's the thing that people always ask, and it's like, how programmed have we all been that that's what we always ask? What do you do? You know, instead
Yeah.
of in reference to like, well, what do you enjoy doing? What are your hobbies? What do you find fun and interesting? Or what do you think about? It's always, what do you do for work? So anyway, during the course of talking to people, everyone finds out how we live and everything. They're like, oh, that's awesome. And, people say that, that's great, or you're lucky, or whatever, and blah, blah, blah. And we just always say that, we're very grateful for where we're at, and,
Yeah.
so that's been coming up a lot lately. Just yesterday, out of the blue, a business owner that I used to do some work with. We were involved in the same group. I don't know what you'd call it. It was an IT co-op. It kind of is what it was. Like we all pitched in for a help desk, so we all didn't have to build our own help desks. We all kind of did that thing. But
Right.
I hadn't talked to him in years, and the last time I saw him was maybe 4 or 5 years ago or something. And he just said, he called me, and then I had to call him back. But he said, I just felt like popped into my head, and I was like, I wonder what you're doing. So we talked, and I told him what we were doing, and he was just so excited and happy for us and everything. And then I told him, how I got to this point, and just that I'm very thankful and grateful, and that he can have whatever he wants too. He can,
Yeah.
get out of the rat race, so to speak, whatever. Um, but that's been coming up a lot. Gratitude has been coming up a lot. It's really been, and being content, not wanting anything, really.
Well, gratitude fills you with, I think gratitude fills you with a really good sense of a pure form of love.
Mhm.
When you have gratitude and you're not trying to get something you're not trying to get something from me. I'm not trying to get something for you. People that listen to this, for those that would watch, you have this kind of gratitude. You just have love for everything. And then, kind of like your question, I was thinking about that. So so when I, so there's this, I don't know if you're ever watching YouTube videos and you'll see, and probably other places too, but there'll be like this, it has those like 30-second clips where you can click skip and all that. And one of them is something like, I don't know, it's some type of coaching that says, coaching on small talk. And one of them is always says, don't ask how was your weekend, or don't ask how your day's going. Maybe something you shouldn't ask is, what do you do?
Yeah.
It kind of phrases like, define me for you. So, so I'm curious to ask you, because I don't know if I know the answer for me. Yeah, I do. But most things you'd go for work. So what do if I were to ask you, what do you do, George? How do you, other than saying you're grateful, how would you answer that for you?
I always answer it with whatever I want, and that always throws people off because most everyone doesn't do anything they want. Like they have to get up and go to work, and drive for an hour or whatever it is, and do all the things. And then I'll say that that we had a business and we sold it, and we pretty much just work on our property. You know, that's mostly what we do. We're working on the garden right now, and just different things. Basically just whatever we want. We get up and do what we want. So, and then
Well,
that leads them into, oh, you retired, and I never liked that word retired, because retired is the word itself, like tired. I'm gonna retire. I'm
right.
gonna tire over and over. It's like such a stupid word. It never made sense to me ever.
Yeah.
And I always told people I wasn't gonna ever retire, because that seems like a dumb word to me. And wouldn't you get bored doing nothing? And not necessarily that you have to have a job, but there's probably things you want to do. Um, but yeah, I just tell them, well, we're choosing not to work right now,
Yeah.
for a employer, or to do anything to generate money of any kind. We're just trying to live closer to nature, so to speak,
Right.
just get more in tune with that, because we spend most of our lives in office buildings with fluorescent lights and all the crap and LEDs and all the stupid stuff, and it's like, we're just appreciative that we don't have to do that now,
There's I appreciate you mentioning that. When you first brought this up, the words "I am" just kept coming back to me,
Mm-hmm.
because now, of course, it would be interesting, but I would like saying it too. What do you do? I am. Well, what's that mean? I just
Mm-hmm.
am. Whatever it is that day leads me to, whatever moment it is. Even if that means
Good
that
thing to
it's
say.
regular, 3D work, just say I am. I'm just here and present. There's
Mm-hmm.
a spoiler alert for anyone that is going to watch this show. So I'm gonna give away some parts, but it's called I think it's called the Madison. Might be on Paramount or something. One of Taylor Sheridan's many things now. He's a creator of Yellowstone,
Okay.
and I think it's a short series. I don't think it's very long. My wife and I just started it last night, and she didn't know what it was. She just knew it was Taylor Sheridan. It has Kurt Russell and Michelle Pfeiffer in it. She's like, "Let's do it." I'm like, "Okay." No idea what it's going to be about. No idea.
Mm-hmm.
And we only watched the first episode so far, but as the story goes, they must have made a lot of money in a business or whatever. They live in New York City, and he is a little bit more of a mountain man, if you will, and he takes trips to, I want to say Montana or Idaho, somewhere out in the middle of nowhere, like, you know, lights, there's electricity in these cabins that they have, but like not actual outlets, you know, that kind of stuff. You want to make a pot of
Mhm.
coffee, you go out to the river, you grab some water, you make, you know, pot, taste the smoke in it. And as the story goes, he's out there doing that. They go trout fishing, fly fishing, just things to do. And there's a tragedy. This is in the first, again, spoiler alerts. In the first episode, he ends up accidentally losing his life in a plane crash. And so his wife, who has always been in New York City, like never came to see him. You know, he always asked to come out, bring the kids, bring
Mhm.
whatever, and she just never did. So she decided now, because of this, you know, large life changing thing, he's passed away. She decided to go out and honor him, if you will.
Mhm.
And she goes there and she sees, you know, these two cabins. You know, bathroom is outside, like it's an outhouse.
Yeah.
You know, there's a little garden. You know, if you want to eat steak, well, it's called elk meat because they come down off the ridge, and that's, you know, that's what they harvest. She's then like sort of looking through the memories sort of his life that had been there. He's written a journal just about
Mhm.
things that he saw, and just, for me, everyone can interpret it different, but my perception of that is very much what you mentioned about retirement. Well, what is retirement? Um, you mean you work for whatever period of time? That sounds a little downy, but you work for whatever period of time and you make whatever amount that you hope to squirrel away for a day that never comes,
Mhm.
or when it arrives. Kind of like even in the show, even before he passes, he's like, "How many more years am I going to be able to do this? You know, 15 years, maybe,
Mhm.
maybe." And in general, um, I would agree. I don't really have an interest anymore in talking about retirement versus what you do now.
Mhm.
Um, because if retirement is sitting on a beach somewhere with a, you know, pink umbrella and a glass, drinking something, why not just do that now? I don't mean every single day if you don't have the, you know,
Yeah.
the ability to do that, but just why wait for something that you think is this grandiose thing? Like try it now,
Mhm.
decide how it is. Um, anyway, it just makes me think to, you know, even I think a couple of days ago asked someone, "What do you do?" And after I said it, I was kind of like, I fell for it. I
Yeah.
asked, "What do you do?" Because I know that that's really not like, what's the matter. And as I, you know, predicted from asking that, like it just stayed as a surface conversation.
Yeah.
Uh,
There's a lot of things like that in our lives that I mean, we were just programmed from children watching cartoons. I mean, sure that retirement came up in cartoons, you know, and then throughout your life. So it's hard to break those habits, to think
yeah,
differently. And I think it's easier when you live like we do, where it's just we do whatever we want every day. It's easier to start forgetting that programming. I don't know. I always kind of was a little bit out there for not wanting to be in the social norms and societal norms, even at work and things like that. I always felt something was off, right? Like this is not natural, you know,
right.
something was off. I was always a little bit rebellious and, you know, well, why do we do it that way? And, you know, there's a better way. I always felt like I could always improve everything, you know, show me the process and I can help improve it. Show me the product and I can help improve it. Like everything was always about improving how to make things better, maybe a little bit more human, you know, I don't know.
Right, right. You're, I think you're the one that mentioned this to me, so you can remind me if it's framed this way. But say someone has a worry or they have like a product. Let's use a product.
Yeah.
So, okay, we're going to make this product. Well, then what? Okay, well, then we make a product and we make it better. Okay, say you
Mhm.
make it as good as possible. Then what? Well, then you go on to something else. Okay, well, then what? And you just keep asking those questions till it leads to, well, then we get to this, then we get to this, then we get to this. And I'm like, okay, well, say you have everything you've ever wanted, every product you've ever wanted. You
Mhm.
have the the most massive company using a product in the entire, world, entire galaxy, like expand out to whatever infinite.
Yeah.
After you get through all those when we do this and when we do that, what really remains? Exactly as you are right here. Exactly I am.
Mm.
Um, it's
Like, what's it all for?
cor- correct. And I think if it wouldn't be a great dinner conversation. Like I'd probably annoy some people about it, but the point
I'm
of
the
it,
kind of person who'd be like, yeah, this will be fine. Here, watch this. And
right. Check this out. Hold my beer. It's just it's just the idea to inspire a little bit of thought to say, even when you're going through, mundane day-to-day things or really hard things, for a lot of you, we go through hardships as well. But all of those things are circumstances of your life. They're not the you who you are, or at least who you can choose to be.
yeah,
Anyway, yeah,
yeah,
sometime I know we'll meet in person for the first time in a couple
yeah.
weeks, which is going to be great. It'll be like, it'll be perfect. But um, it would be fun to make a little dinner conversation to see how it goes. I mean, I think we might be surprised. I think there might be more people that are kind of willing to drop into a deeper conversation
Mhm.
about it. So, what were you going to say? I'm sorry.
When you were talking about making a product and another product and just going on, it reminded me of this game, a funny little game that was it was on a web browser, so you don't need to install anything. You just go to a website, and it's called I think it's called Paper Clips, and
Okay.
basically you're starting a paperclip company from the ground up to manufacture paper clips. And it gets very involved. It's basically almost like a spreadsheet. Like there isn't really a lot of graphics or anything. It's just a bunch of text, and you're adjusting things as the company grows. But it's the most hilarious thing I ever played. I kind of don't want to spoil it because it's very interesting, but it kind of goes to your point of where does it end? Like you start off as a paperclip company, but
Right.
if you go through the whole game, it's a totally different thing, different animal
Right.
by the end of it. So it kind of speaks to humanity and what we're doing here and everything with companies and making things. So it's pretty interesting. If you ever get a chance, look it up. It's paperclip and it's just a browser based game, but anyone can play it. It's just a little thinking on managing resources and doing things, but it's very, very telling. That and I could completely forgotten about that game, but it does speak to something about industrialization and making things and
Right.
how they think about it.
And so, without giving it away,
Mhm.
you're doing an advantage, I guess, to anyone watching to to go play the game, because now I've given away the part of the show
Yeah,
that I mentioned. So, does it change so fundamentally that the word paperclip doesn't even mean anything in the
yeah,
point of the game?
yeah.
So then it just makes me
At
wonder
some
then
point, you forget that you started off making paper clips. Let's just put it that way.
well, I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Wherever we end
I would
up, do we
imagine it's still
really?
out there. I'll look for it and then see if I can find it. It's got to
Okay.
still be out there, I would think.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's I interpret that to say we can have all the expectations in the world of what we think is going to happen. Like the how
Mhm.
we can understand what we, even if we understand what we want, the how to get there, it's going to be so serpentine in the most beautiful
Yeah,
ways.
you
We
don't know
just
where
have
you're going
no
to
idea.
end up sometimes, and this game perfectly highlights that. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, you don't know where you're going to go. You may know where you want to go, or think you know where you want to go, but where you end up, like I never knew I'd end up where I am. I grew up in Houston in the city, and I didn't know I'd be out in the country, and now I want to move even further out. Just be more engulfed in nature. Less technology, which kind of leads me into I don't know if what subject we're on at this point. I know we started off with gratitude, but it makes me wonder what's next for us. Um, the further we get in the nature, because like I'm seeing two worlds showing up. There's the people that you don't necessarily have to flee the cities, but there's people that are not looking forward to all the new technology that supposedly they're going to give us, like flying cars and med
Right.
beds and all these miraculous things, Neuralink, all these things, right, that are kind of cyberpunkish, right? And there was a time where I was all for transhumanism. Oh, yeah, I lose an arm, I'm going to put a robotic arm. Um, I lose an eye. I have a hearing problem. When I was a baby, I got meningitis, so I lost a lot of hearing in one of my ears. So I was always like, why can't they fix that? And I went to all the specialists, and why can't that be fixed? And it's like, we have microphones. Like, why can't I have something in my ear that, not a hearing aid, but built into me that connects to my brain? And well, we're about to have that. And now I don't want that because I don't feel that we need any of that. I feel that we can do it all ourselves by raising our vibrational frequency. So I want to shun all of that. I don't want to become a slave again. It's just another trap, like every trap they've ever given us. I mean, think of the microwave, think of the automobile, all the different things that they've let us have and get the joy to pay for and everything, and you know, waste our whole lives for all these technologies that did what? I mean, how did the washer and dryer advance us as a people? How did the microwave advance us as a people? Like what did we really gain?
Right.
You know,
That's right.
it
Well,
doesn't make sense to me at this point anymore to go the technological route.
I I on I on every level that probably matters to me, I agree with you. I was talking to a friend yesterday, and I don't know, the topic of technology came up, or I probably brought it up, and I was like, whether you think about it for yourself, or you read it in a book, or you're reviewing some type of religion, or you follow a religion, a lot of the stories and parables and things, and even for what monks practice with breathing techniques or anything else, or what you and I might, um, all of that is utilizing a technology that we have only begun to understand, which is our own divine technology. And when I say divine, I'm not speaking of religion. Divine, I think by definition, is just something that is not normal. It's a normal, quote unquote, otherworldly thing.
Something that's
That's
elevated.
right. Something that is elevated. That's right. It's
Mhm.
rare. Um, and it's not dismissive for me to say, like, the baby AI that we deal now. Like, let's think of God as a let's think of God, our prime creator, as the ultimate AI.
Mhm.
And it's not to make it artificial. That's that.
Yeah.
So there should be a different term. But if you go with
Mhm.
me, how do our
Maybe
bodies know?
ultimate intelligence.
Correct. Correct. So how do our bodies know to have ligaments that fit just so for a knee? How does a fish know how to swim, upstream? How are the bodies that are we all placed in that are temporary vessels that are not housing but transmitting consciousness? I am
Mhm.
convinced my consciousness is not here within me.
Yeah.
I'm a radio transmitter, and even then, when I say radio transmitter, I am simplifying it for something that I think in real,
Like
in now.
an RC car, you're really somewhere else with a remote control controlling this body that you're in.
That's
You
right.
know,
That's right.
um, it's like VR. You're able to see through here, but you're somewhere else.
Yep. And then let's go a little bit further now. So the Wi-Fi, like in this house or at yours or anywhere else, or tuning into a radio frequency. Are you going to be able to listen to FM, 98.7 if
Mhm.
you're tuned to AM, I don't know, 1530? No, you
Mhm.
won't. Or if you get kind of close, it'll be kind of scratchy. Think of same thing with Wi-Fi, like I'm too far away or whatever else.
Mhm.
All right, now think of like that rudimentary understanding of like what we think is technology. Now think of it for our bodies and our consciousness and our
Mhm.
hearts. If you're able to tune in to our source creator, that ultimate ultimate intelligence. You know, that technology is, I would say, even a more beautiful technology than anything we'll ever be able to create, you know, even with hundreds, thousands, maybe even eons of time here. I just, I'm rambling to say the beauty of the technology that we currently have in a temporary vessel is just all inspiring. And just to your point, even though self healing is very much a probability, not even just possible, probable, it's not challenging if we're not thinking of it in those kind of terms. If we just accept, again, I am, just that you're here, you're already healed, you're already healthy, all those things, even if you can't see it yet, if you have that ultimate faith, if you will, that everything is going to be beautiful, it will be beautiful. And that's just how the technology works. I think it's just a fundamentally different way to look at it.
So the way I view technology is this: so we have eyes that see, right, and then that sends a signal to our brain. So when they developed a camera, that's just them trying to recreate what you already have in an artificial form, you know, and it's a way of learning. I guess science and technology is a way of learning through a different means, but it gets you right back to like, have they been able to make anything as good as our eyes, you know? That
Right.
self-healing and you know all these things, like okay, you can make a camera and maybe you can make it see in spectrums that we don't, but how do we know that we can't see in those spectrums? Maybe we're just limited in a certain way that we haven't unlocked because we were never brought up to use our full vision, you know. Then there's the pineal gland, which sees as well. So the camera is essentially a rudimentary eye that is probably nowhere near as good as what we've got. You know,
Right.
it's just a way of making something. And even the robots, you know, they're making robots that are human-like and walking around, but they still can't do what we can do as easy, right? And they require so much to make one of those things. You know, it's not pretty. It's it's a whole lot of steps, you know, when you can make a baby and then it has everything, you know. And the totality of our technology, I think it's just trying to recreate things that already exist. You know,
Right.
I see inventions all the time and things. I was like, oh, that's cool. And then you find out, oh, well, this animal does that. Just it does it. You know, like,
Well,
this eel over
it's
here generates electricity. It just does it. You know, and you've got to come up with a little circuit and everything to do all this stuff. And it's
right.
like, okay, you know, this animal can smell like for miles. Do we have anything that can smell for miles? I don't know where the smell technology is, but I don't know, and I can't imagine that you know they replicate it that well. You know, so it's just it's funny in a way. Um, I used to get very excited about technology, and now it's like, oh, okay, that's cool that they're figuring some stuff out, but also, I'm of the, you know, I don't see that we're really inventing anything new. I think everything was just
Right.
already done, and I'll never be able to be convinced that humans figured out how to make a microchip. You know, like
Well,
I was in, you know, I went to electronics engineering school. I worked at Compact Computers in a manufacturing, you know, plant and all the things. And you'll never convince me that that wasn't just technology handed to us by more advanced, you know,
right.
higher dimensional beings or whatever. Like, there's no way. And then even in the history, you see, I saw a good video the other day. I think they used the characters from Family Guy to talk it through, but they basically said that every era, like the Stone Age, Iron Age, Brown Age, all those ages that they made up for us, were really impossible because they say, okay, well, you need this to make this. They invented this thing at this time period, but you need this. And how was that invented? Like, you'd have to invent so many things at one time at the same time to be able to make the thing that that age is known for, that there's no way.
Right.
It's very interesting. And a lot of people will probably think we're crazy for talking about this or whatever, and that humans are so smart. And yeah, we can be smart, but you
Right.
can't do the impossible when you know you don't have the knowledge of things. You can't make something out of nothing when you don't know it even exists. You know, so
That's
it's
right.
very interesting to me. So when I saw that video, like I already had an inkling of that, but that video, watching it in such a well explained manner, really left me looking at. Yeah, I already knew everything was fake, but it's even more fake. It's always more fake than known. I already knew history was manipulated, and I always was a fan of history. And I was learning all these things, and it's like, man, everything I learned was a bunch of crap. Like I don't really know the history, and I can't wait to remember what everything really was. That'll be interesting for me to remember it, and then it won't because I already know it where I am. So
Right.
it's like I
That's
just
right.
don't remember it here, right? Right now in this body with what I can remember, it's like, oh, I want to know all that, and then I think about it too, and it's like that's kind of dumb because I already know this
That's right.
somewhere. You know, like the real me knows this already, so I don't know. It's all very funny and interesting to me. That all I can do is laugh about it all. You know.
Well, you're right. And just as you described, like technology being handed to us, for those of you that, and George, you might be saying it this way, but yeah, it could be someone from another dimension, another portal, another world, spaceship
Mhm.
gets out, hands this to you, and doesn't give you an instruction manual, but you're like reverse engineer. Yeah,
Mhm.
that could be. Or because we are all vessels that access a field.
Mhm.
Star Wars might have gotten some things, incorrect, but I certainly think, the Force is a representation of the field of consciousness.
Yeah,
You
for
tap
sure.
into that. How does, I'm trying to think of the guitarist for the Rolling Stones. It's not Mick Jagger, he's the lead singer, but
Um,
anyway. So,
I'm forgetting that world.
well, he, he had a dream, or right before he woke up, one of their best songs, Satisfaction or something like that.
Mhm.
He just woke up hearing that exact tune, dun,
Mhm.
dun, 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 and just kept playing over and over in his head. Now, he didn't create that. He
Yeah, where'd
created it
that
here.
come from?
Right. Where did it come from? And wherever it came from, it came. So think of
Mhm.
that as like a microchip or
Yeah,
like
yeah,
anything else.
yeah.
Yeah, we might be able to observe it through the lens of our eye, and then that's how we got the idea. But
I
it's
think it's
it,
blended. I think it's a blended solution, like what you're talking about, what I'm talking about. I think it's like Um, yeah, well, there are some accounts of like agriculture was handed to a bunch of primitive people. Like there was a person. Like there are accounts of that. So that's one way. But also, yes, there's the way like, oh, I had this brilliant idea for this movie or whatever, and then it's being developed simultaneously around the world by a couple other people that had the same idea, and that's coming directly from the source field at the same time to a few people, and just like other inventions too. So I think it's a blended approach, but it's like you said earlier, right? With the tuning in, they probably hit a certain vibration, or someone decided to send them something, to their little radio antenna, or it might have been their own higher self that's like, here, this will be fun. Let me drop
right.
this nugget in there, you know.
That's right.
And,
And to go, I'll go a little bit further to say, yeah, there might be some intent on someone else, or or in a field when you finally tune into that, just like we are talking about, like a radio frequency or a Wi-Fi. When you get on that level, it's not good or a bad level. It's just that level. Let's not be dismissive of who we are as human beings recreating what's already divinely created here. But that, I guess, inspiration of genius, whatever the genius is, it's not from us. It doesn't mean that we are, dumb or silly or whatever else. And we're just recreating. I mean, it we're we are accessing whatever that
it's a
infinite
path
laws
to
of information.
awareness, right?
That's right. That's right. Some would refer to it maybe as, and I'm blending things now, so hang with me. But
Mhm.
you could call it the Akashic record. You could call it
Mhm.
something else. But if that's a stream of consciousness of all that was known, is known, and can be known, and there's only one present moment, and there is no history, there is no future. It's just all right now. If we can get
Mhm.
that big, I know that. Hang with me.
Mhm.
If we can
Yeah.
get that big about it, all you're really doing is accessing. But how important is that? And what's the best way for you to access something or think about something? And I might have posted on this, I can't recall, but Where do most people, where does it seem like most people get their best ideas? In the
In the darkness, when they're just thinking, or in the shower, places where you can focus on just the task you're on, and then your mind wanders,
Right.
regardless of where it is. Yeah, in any place that meets that criteria, where you don't have anyone talking to you and telling you anything, or
So I love that you said the shower. So let's think about a shower. We'll keep this PG. But if you're in the shower
Mhm.
and you don't have I mean, maybe some of us do, but you don't have your phone, you
Mhm.
don't have a piece of paper that you're writing stuff down, stuff's probably going
Mhm.
to get wet. So, and you're thinking about things, yeah, but I don't know about you, but I haven't ever gone into the shower with an agenda being like, all right, I'm going to think about this. It just sort of appears. And I think it's specifically in the shower, not because of water, or at least that's not the major thing. It's because you're pausing enough for life to think about it. So any
Mhm.
place that you're pausing when, in this rush of, I need to get here, I need to get here, I need to get milk, eggs, or whatever else people buy and bring home. If you're really just dismissing a way to call it daydreaming, those seem to be when the most strokes of genius happen, whether it's in the shower or fly fishing, like that show I was watching. And things just appear to you. And you
Mhm.
could covet it and be like, I thought of that. I I thought of that. It came from no one else but me. No, it came from wherever it came from,
Mhm.
regardless of how it appeared. And giving yourself time, however you do it, whether it's a couple
You
minutes
know,
in the shower or anything else. Go ahead.
there's some businesses, or there's some school of thought with some businesses where, and I don't know if the Japanese do this or not. I want to say they do, but where when there's a problem that a company wants to figure out, where the smart ones will tell people, okay, we're gonna sit in this room for an hour or two, or sit in your office alone for an hour or two and don't do anything.
Yep.
Don't do anything at all. Don't turn off your phone and all the things. Just sit there and just think. Like you're making the shower time, right? Like just sit and think, and
Yeah.
just see where your mind goes, and see what you come up with. And that's smart, because I mean, I think we get our best ideas when we're not doing anything. It's you're busy, right? And it's funny, because as I'm saying that, I think um, that old saying, idle hands are the devil's playground. Well, when you're sitting there and you don't have idle hands, that's when all the good ideas come. So of course they're going to tell you idle
Right.
hands are the devil's playground, because it's like, no, you need to sit there and be quiet, and don't have puppy dogs and cats, or spouses or kids bothering you. You need to find a place of solitude. I mean, Superman had his fortress of solitude. He could just go there and think and ponder things. And it's like, everyone should have, I mean, maybe even daily, have time where you just sit there and don't do anything. I have
Yeah.
that nightly, when everyone else is asleep, and then I go to sleep. I'm in bed, just sometimes I think for, I don't know how long it is, I'm not looking at the clock, but it feels like it's a half hour or an hour, just laying there thinking. And I'm not angry that I can't go to sleep. I'm not trying to go to sleep. I'll fall asleep when I need to fall asleep, but I'm just thinking, you know?
It was if we measured it, I don't even know if it can be a measurable time. Before you said Japan, and before you said, an amount of something that they do just to like sit, I had the same thought. Now,
Mm-hmm.
that is not a coincidence. It's
No,
just, it's
nothing's a
just not.
coincidence.
I was thinking specifically of I think Asian workplaces that have like you must take or you're allowed to, maybe not you must, but you're allowed to take like a 45-minute nap or like an hour nap or whatever.
Yeah.
Now that could be for, employee benefits, could be, or it could be because you're in a work environment, you're thinking about things, and then subconsciously you're working through that, and you're giving people the choice to pause and think about that. I mean, same thing in the Western world of being like, hey, before you respond to the email the way you're about to, or respond to that text or whatever else, like just stop for a moment. Don't stop and distract yourself with something else. Just stop and think through it. I used to get so frustrated with my father when I was a kid, when I was a child, not kid, child. Um, I'd want something. I'd ask for something, and he's like, "I need to sleep on it." And really, I thought he was just trying to give an excuse that he would then, quote unquote, forget about it later. I don't
Yeah.
think that. I think
Yeah.
actually he was legitimately saying he's a salt of the earth kind of guy. Like he's not there to make things fictional. He's like, no, I needed to think about it. I needed to, and I don't, I don't know that all of us, including myself, give us enough space to just think and process things.
Well, even
We're all
making big purchases or anything. I mean, I was in sales, and I know all the tactics that you don't want to give people too much time to think. You want to give them just enough information so that they
right,
make their decision, but you want it quickly because the more time that goes on, and most in a lot of sales, not all sales, but in most sales, the more time that goes on, the less chance you're going to have the sale, unless they're giant purchases. Sometimes. And I'm talking like multi-year contracts or something that's
right,
giant purchases. Not even the car is a giant purchase, but impulse buying is what they want you to do. Well, why? They don't want you to think because the more you think, the more clarity you have. Well, maybe I don't want this particular car, or maybe I need
right.
something else that's more practical, or maybe I need a specific thing for what I need. Maybe I didn't think about the requirements, so to speak, but they everything has to be quick, quick, quick. Oh, get this deal real quick. It's only lasts 5 more hours. Hurry up. It's
Right. Yeah,
hurry up,
there's a
hurry up and do it now. We only got 2 weeks left to get this discount on this trip. It's like, and then you do it, and then maybe you realize, oh, well, I didn't need to do that, or I don't
right.
want to do that now. But they don't
But
want you
George,
thinking. They want you to,
there's never been a better time to buy. Now is the time. There's never
yeah,
been. And there
yeah.
never will be again. You must act now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because there won't be something better next year, right?
Right.
There
Exactly.
won't be a new iPhone next year. Just get this one
Right.
now.
And if that emotional kind of purchase motivation doesn't work, then then you'll be behind this, behind with your neighbor. And then when you have a conversation about garden rakes, I mean, you won't have the best one. And then what? And then what? And then what? And then what?
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you. There's a I'm in sales now, but project management's always been near and dear to my heart, and it's I am convinced that removing the method and removing all the different details that make project management quote unquote complex, the number one thing that still rules everything is emotion and the
Mhm.
psychology of the people that are included in it. A project which seems very much like, all right, here are the widgets, and here's when we build them, and here's when we test them and move it out the door. All of those things could go perfect if the right type of emotions or lack thereof are included, or if they're not. And imagine trying to sell something to a person that doesn't have an emotion about whether they really need it or not.
Mhm.
Or a fear or some other type, whatever the emotion is,
Yeah.
something that drives them to it. Um, anyway, it's it, I've really enjoyed kind of the way this is sort of like weaving in and out, but back to the very thing that we started this with, gratitude.
Mhm.
You have the right kind of gratitude. Your emotions are going to be level enough. You can still feel things. I'm not saying that you're just nothing inside.
Yeah.
You just are. I am. I just am. And so when you come from that kind of place, give yourself time to think, give yourself time to pause if you need to pause. I I'm pretty darn sure you're still going to be able to make snap decisions if you really have to, but you're not doing
Mhm.
it from a place of fear or a place of what ifs. It's a place of, okay, well, what if you make a mistake? I'll just make another choice.
I think what I'm
Or
what I'm hearing you say is that you need to let go of the worry of making the wrong choice. Let
that's
go
right.
of the fear.
That's right. Yeah, I am definitely not a proponent of sifting through the ashes of regrets. No
Yeah.
regrets. No regrets here. Yeah, yeah. But for those who haven't watched some of the previous ones, so um, George, George's adage of the universal law of let go live and love. Let go of whatever it is. Live your life. Just be you. Imperfect, perfect, good or bad, doesn't matter. Just be you. And that translates to love, translates to gratitude. I'm paraphrasing, of course, George. You can
Yeah.
correct me on it, but
Mhm.
yeah, that's exactly right. It's
Yeah.
exactly right.
It's funny how everything always boils down to that. And like that came to me probably from, the source field, right? And everything that I see people talk about and do, it all boils down to that. Like their problems that they have. It's like, okay, well, what are you doing? Okay, you're holding on to this, let it go. It always boils down to that very simple thing. And it's just funny to me that I see it in that, through that lens now.
Yep. Well, you think of how those three steps, let go, live, and love. And if you do that for enough time and enough moments, all of that love, if you allow it to, if you give it space to grow, that builds. Well, how bright can that love get?
Hmm.
And this leads me, which maybe is 6 degrees or 5 degrees, whatever it is from Kevin Bacon, but it
Hmm.
makes me think of the movie The Fifth Element. And what was the fifth element? The fifth
Yeah,
element
I
was,
always remember that. Yeah.
yeah, the fifth
Yeah.
element was love. And what was it shown as when she, the person representing the fifth element, this infinitely perfect being, what did it represent when that shot out of her mouth or body or whatever at the end? It was just pure light. It was just pure. It was just pure, unexplainable or inexplainable light, love,
Hmm.
which is the same. And I
Yeah.
think I don't know. I feel like myself included, we like to make things really complicated. We really like to overcomplicate things.
Yeah.
Well, I want to know how it works. Okay. And when you dig into all those details and you make layers upon layers, or when companies do this with organizations and structure and process and all those kinds of things, those help us, achieve things right up until they don't. When they become so overly complex, just like trying to turn love over and decide, well, how does it work and all that. Having gratitude, as simple as it is, what other mechanism than an ultimate intelligence to predicate everything on love? Something
Hmm.
that is simple, not easy to achieve, but yet easy to achieve. Like, why wouldn't you want to use something like that that
Hmm.
really derives its own energy? Um, Anything you have to say about that? Did I make too big of a leap with what I'm saying?
No, no. I like that you brought up the complexity of things. I mean, everyone wants to think that something they don't understand is very complex and complicated, and it doesn't need to be. Even our computers that are working, they're really, really simple. They're not as complicated as people think.
Right.
And I can say that because I've been in that industry, on the making of the computers and making circuits, and I've built circuits and done all that. And it's anybody can learn it. It's not difficult. Anybody can learn basic electronics too. It's not difficult at all. I mean, we built a radio, and that's a simple little thing. But think of all the radio frequencies that picks up. Things you can listen to, all the
Right.
knowledge you can get. But no, you're right. I mean, people want to think that things that they don't understand how they work are very complicated, or that it's magic.
Yeah.
And I've never looked into the word magic, the etymology, and what it really means and everything. But I mean, if you don't understand something, yeah, it could seem like magic or something that you can't understand, but you can understand everything. You really can. You just
Yeah.
need it to be explained to you in a manner that isn't using all this jargon and lingo that only the eggheads are going to know. I mean, everything can be explained easily, and you
Right.
can understand it all. And one thing that hurts me the most is when someone says that they're stupid, or that they're just not smart enough to understand something. I said, no, that's not on you. The person explaining to you isn't smart enough to explain it to you in the manner that they need to, or they're just telling you in a way to belittle you, to make you
Right.
feel bad.
That's
Because
right.
everything can be explained easily.
Yeah. I uh, I agree. When someone says they're a visual person on the other side, you like they just don't get it. But
Yeah.
to your point, like you could be a professor in, I don't know, let's just say a professor in biochemistry, and you've written many books and many research papers and all those kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can't explain it to someone, you can't explain it to a child,
Mm-hmm.
and just bits and pieces, you really aren't knowing it so well that you could know how to explain it to someone who has no idea.
Mm-hmm.
Show it to me.
Yeah.
Just show me an example. Well, I don't have the time for that. Well, then that's the answer. You don't want to make the time
Yeah.
to share it with a person. And going back to gratitude, I guess one more time for me.
Mm-hmm.
When I'll eat my words. I won't be hard on myself, but I'll eat my words to say, when I thought talking less and allowing other people to talk, when I thought it was like somehow impinging on me, it wasn't. It was just being. If I
Mm-hmm.
have gratitude for the moment, all the things that I am envisioning or thinking about happening, instead of thinking about them, just have gratitude that they're already here. I have experienced so many things that you or I could call magic. They're not magic.
Mm-hmm.
They're just because I'm approaching it from a place of gratitude. And wouldn't you know it, they occur, if not immediately, so much more quickly than me trying to force it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Take us home, George. Where do you want to wrap up our New Year's talk here?
I don't really know. I was going to say that if people want to understand a lot of things that we're talking about, they may want to read the source field investigations simply because it kind of goes into all the experiments and what it kind of demystifies the magic, the things that people that might think are magic. And it's not really that technical. I think a lot of people could understand a lot of the things. There may be some things you don't. There were a couple things I didn't understand, but you don't need to understand every science experiment that they talk about. There's so many examples of a lot of things that really pull you to our creator and how things, it gives you a better understanding maybe how things work a little bit. Not the nuts and bolts of how they work, but that they work. And,
Right.
that it does indeed work. And maybe there is something bigger, right?
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I would recommend that book and the Dolores Cannon book, the Three Waves of Volunteers and the New Earth, because that touches on a lot of this stuff too. I think between those two books, those are good things to read if you haven't read them, or watch videos that are based on them if you don't like to read or whatever reason. There's videos about those things as well that will help you get an understanding.
Well, it's a great suggestion that you make, George. And I appreciate you saying that. Regardless of what content any of you feel drawn to, either the two that George mentioned, I'm big into podcasts too. Go figure. But you listen to things. I've not too long ago, I felt like, I should take notes, or I should make posts about it, things like that. And those are still good. Don't get me wrong. But having to memorize every single thing as if like that knowledge is something that you're going to lose,
Yeah, you don't
you're
need
not
to.
you're not going to lose it. There's going to be pieces that fit into whatever your own unique puzzle is in the time that is perfect for you to understand it. So George, I'm hearing from you, whether you pick up a book and decide that's your mechanism or something else,
Mm-hmm.
these things just occur to you. They might not occur in the time you think you want, but they occur in the time that you really do need in this
Just
life.
like, I guess, don't be dismissive, be open-minded, pull all the
Yeah.
information in, discern for yourselves what you're remembering as is truth. Um, that's basically it, really.
That's right. I agree. George, thank you. I
Yeah,
appreciate you
thank you.
celebrating New Year's Day with me.
Yeah, me too.
All right. Thanks, George, for joining. Love you, brother. And thanks, everyone, for joining too. Goodbye.
Bye bye.